you've already decided. You just haven't admitted it yet. Every day you don't change course, you decide again. The gap isn't waiting for you. It's moving, quietly, without pause. Doing nothing is not neutral. It is a direction, and it has been carrying you somewhere the entire time you told yourself you hadn't chosen. This episode is about the decision you keep making in the dark, and what it costs you to keep it there.
Last time I raised the temperature, so today I'm going to lower it, but only just a little bit, because we've arrived at the end of something, and this ending doesn't need any more heat. It just needs you to still hear enough about what I'm about to say. So for the last 5 episodes, we've been inside this friction. We found the choice, we found why we're making it, we found the structure that keeps it safe. And last time, we found what it's been costing you. That was the loud part. Today, this is going to be the quiet part, the part where all of it settles into a single fact that you've spent this entire act not quite letting yourself say out loud. And so here it is. You're not waiting to decide. You've decided. You're actually deciding right now. And you'll decide again tomorrow the exact same way, unless something breaks this pattern. And so today is about the decision that we keep pretending that we haven't made and where it's quietly taking us. Let me put the whole act in front of you at once. Not to repeat myself, and instead just to let you see the whole thing versus piecemeal. So here it is. A capable man looked at a gap in his life and called it drift, until he saw that it was authored. Once he saw that he was the authoring of it, he discovered he was doing it to stay where he couldn't fail. Now that he saw why he stayed, he found he'd quietly built a life where no one stood close enough to stop him. And that's when he saw the structure and have found a serious problem that he'd have moved on instantly anywhere else, sitting there completely untouched while the price kept climbing the whole time he looked away. Now stop looking at those 5 separate observations and let them become one finding. What do you see? This is not a confused man. He's not unaware, nor is he lacking the capacity to fix any of it. He sees it all right, completely. And the reality is seeing has changed nothing. That is the thing this entire act was built to walk you through. Not the gap. You knew about the gap before we even got started. The fact that complete sight of it, total understanding of it, has not moved you a single inch, which tells you something that you've been avoiding. Understanding was never the thing that was missing. You've been treating this like a problem you hadn't yet solved. It was never unsolved. It was unchosen. And those are different things. And the difference is the whole reason you're still standing here. The problem you can't solve, you get to forgive yourself for. Choice that you keep making, well, that is a much harder thing to set down. So if seeing it clearly were going to be enough to change it, shouldn't it have changed by now? And because it hasn't changed, what, honestly, have you been waiting for? So here's what you've quietly gotten wrong about the gap this whole time. You've pictured it as a thing sitting still, like a condition, a situation, something that exists at a fixed size, parked off to the side of your real life, that you'll get to and resolve when the time finally comes. You picture it waiting for you, patient, unchanged, holding its position until you're ready to deal with it. That picture brings comfort, and it's false. The gap is not sitting still. Nothing in life sits still. It's a direction. It's going somewhere. Yes, slowly, quietly, but without ever once pausing. And it has been going there the entire time you've been picturing it and waiting. So you're not standing at a safe distance from it, deciding whether to walk over. You're already inside it, already moving, already traveling the direction that it runs. And here is the part the still picture hides from you. It's a path that's moving. Standing still is not standing still. It's continuing. Doing nothing is not neutral. It is a trajectory. Doing nothing is choosing the direction you already pointed and choosing it again every day that you don't turn. So you see, The distance between where you are now and where this ends is not fixed. It's closing. Every quiet, ordinary, uneventful day, it closes just a little bit more. And uneventful isn't exactly how it feels from the inside right up until the day that it doesn't. And notice what quiet does to you, because nothing dramatic happens in any single day. Every day feels like proof that there's still time. There's no alarm sounds. There's no lines getting crossed that you couldn't point to. The very smoothness of it is what convinces you that you're safe. The days that change a life rarely announce themselves. They feel exactly like the days that don't. So if the direction you're traveling right now simply continued, unedited, for 5 years, would you recognize where it left you? And would you be able to call arriving there an accident? Now the move this whole act has been walking toward, you've been telling yourself one particular sentence for a long time. It's been some version of, I haven't decided yet. It's the most comforting sentence that you own because it holds the door open. As long as you haven't decided, you're not yet responsible for an outcome. You're still in the hallway. The real choice is ahead of you, somewhere in the future where you'll finally sit down and make it properly. But that hallway just doesn't exist. There is no waiting room outside the choice. There is no neutral place for you to stand while you make up your mind. Because the trajectory does not pause politely while you deliberate. It keeps moving. And every single day that you spend not deciding, it carries you further in the direction you already chose. So, I haven't decided yet isn't true. It has never been true. You have decided. You decided again every morning you don't change course. Not yet is not the absence of a decision. It's a decision to continue, made so quietly and so often that you never have once had to feel yourself making it. So the man who has not decided to change has decided to actually stay. There is no third option, and there never has been. I know how that can sound, like a trick of language, like I've just renamed I'm not ready and called it a decision to win an argument. But let's sit with it honestly, and you'll find it isn't wordplay. It's the part of the math that you've allowed to skip. In every other corner of your life, you would never accept, I'll get to it, as a final answer from someone who'd been waiting to get it for years. You'd hear that for what it is. You'd call it a no. You'd only get to call it undecided when the person stalling is you. If I'll decide later is itself a decision to continue, then take the word later out of it and say plainly the thing you have actually already decided. Let me bring this closer than is comfortable. This decision is not in your past, something you stumbled into years ago and have simply been stuck with since. And it is not in your future, waiting for some better rested, braver version of you with more time on its hands. It's happening right now. It's in this moment. While you listen to me. Right now, you are making the decision. The same one you made yesterday and the day before that. You're making it by sitting inside all of this, seeing it as clearly as you have ever seen it, and already feeling the pull to set it gently down when this ends and step back onto the path precisely where you left it. You know that pull. You can feel it working on you already. That quiet little plan to be genuinely moved by this and then to do nothing about it. That plan is the decision, and it's happening in real time. I'm not saying this to corner you. I'm saying it because it's the only real leverage that you have. Let's think about it. If the decision were in the past, you couldn't touch it. And if it were in the future, you couldn't reach it. But it's neither. It's now. It's the most present thing that you have in your life. You spent this whole act learning to see the choice as something behind you or somewhere ahead of you, because both of those are places you can't be blamed for standing. Behind you, it's just history. And ahead of you, it's only an intention. The present version is the one that comes with your name on it, and there is no escape hatch. So of course, the present is the exact place you've trained yourself not to look, which means the one place you have ever been able to change, it is the exact place you are standing in right now. When this episode ends, you will either change something or step back onto the path. Both are directions. Which one are you right now already planning to make? So this is where the friction ends. Not because it's resolved, but because it has nowhere left to go. You can see the choice. You know why you make it, and you know what keeps it protected. You know it carries a price. And now you know there is no neutral ground to retreat to. That even your waiting is an answer you've been giving. There's nothing left to understand. That is what makes this end of the act. Friction is the gap between knowing and doing. And across these 5 episodes, we stretch that gap as wide as it's going to go. You are now standing in the fullest possible understanding of your own life, holding the smallest possible excuse. And so I'll be straight with you about what's on the other side of this, because you can probably already feel what's coming. Up until now, I've hinted at the price and deliberately refused to add it up. That restraint ends after today. What comes next stops asking whether you can see it and starts counting what it costs, plainly, completely, and without looking away from the total. The friction was the mercy. What follows is the arithmetic. So one last thing before we get there. You're going to be tempted to take everything you've seen across these 5 episodes and try to fix that today, alone, quietly, privately, by sheer force of will, the same way you've handled everything else that ever has mattered to you. And here's the truth. It will not hold. And some part of you already knows it won't, because the man who would try to fix this alone is the same man whose entire pattern was built on purpose to make sure no one was ever standing close enough to help him. That is not today's problem to solve. But sit with this as the act closes. The way out of this is not going to look anything like the way you got into it. Because if willpower and privacy were ever going to close this gap, it would have been closed already. So what would it take, honestly? Why have you spent years making sure you don't have it? And so here's where I'm going to leave you with today. Not a push, but a fact set down as gently as I can, because it's heavy enough on its own. You are a man who decides things. It's one of the truest things about you. You decide, you act, and the world moves to match you. And you've been pretending that the single most important decision of your life is the one you simply haven't gotten around to yet. You've gotten around to it. You get around to it every day. You've been getting around to it the entire time that you've been telling yourself that you haven't. The only thing actually left to choose is whether you'll keep making that decision in the dark, where it gets to feel like waiting, or are we going to drag it into the light, where it has to feel like exactly what it is. One of those costs you a single hard hour. The other costs you everything and lets you go on believing that you never paid. You've been choosing the second one because it doesn't send a bill that you can read. It's been sending one anyway. That's the end of that friction. So what comes next is the cost. And I want you to stay with it. The band of brothers is where men stop making this decision alone, in the dark, and start making it somewhere it can actually change. And if you're ready for that, you'll know what to do.
Thank you for listening to the Revolutionary Man podcast. Are you ready to own your destiny? To become more the man you are destined to be? Join the brotherhood that is The Awakened Man at theawakenedman.net and start forging a new destiny today.